What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy the Hater, and it's time for another video. This one's gonna center around everybody's pretend favorite wrestler, R-Truth, Ron Killings, whatever the hell he wants to call himself now. He can go back to being K-Quick as far as I'm concerned. Now, the fans spoke, and the fans proved once again that they're not very intelligent. R-Truth was unceremoniously released from his contract. And while it's good overall that he was rehired for him, because, he gets to make some more money, which I'm sure is exactly what he wants, for the fans, nothing has changed and nothing will change, right? All that's happened here is now the fans can be placated into not complaining about R-Truth for a while, right? They got mad because R-Truth was released, but nobody cares about the fact that R-Truth has done nothing in this company for about 15 years. And quite frankly, the reality is this. This was treated like a PR situation. In other words, cuckstis, the way that WWE handled this was rather obvious. They decided against, I think, logical, considerations. They decided that it is best for them to just hire R-Truth, have him be a jobber, and make everybody happy for a little bit. And, everybody will then forget that they were pissed off and everything will move on forward, right? Now, obviously, nothing wrong with R-Truth being there in the lower mid-card where he has been for 15 years. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, he still got something to give. I ain't got nothing to say about that. But some of us were under the impression that this recent hiring, has something to do with the fact that R-Truth is now, in some ways at least, back, right? And he's back in favor with WWE. Now, while that may be true, I mean, it's not reflecting in any sort of push, which is what a lot of people, I think, were hoping was going to happen, right? Everybody thought that this was going to be some sort of some people thought it was going to be a world title run. I didn't think it would be, but honestly, I would have preferred that over Gunther. I mean, I think everybody can agree at least with that. Who would you rather have as a world champion, Gunther or R-Truth? Who the hell would pick Gunther? Anyways, neither here nor there. The point is, people at least thought it would lead to some sort of push. But now, he's like a face, and he's wrestling another face in Aleister Black. I don't see how this match will get anybody excited. This is the same level of match as Karrion Kuck versus Sami Zayn. None of these guys are going to make it in any, important capacity. So just having them around now, I think, is just basically filler, R-Truth was justifiably angry towards Cena, but the level of disrespect that R-Truth had to endure these last few months, I think is, worse than being fired. You know what I mean? Because they pulled the rug from under him. You know what I'm saying? Basically, R-Truth was there. He got fired, he got rehired, and then he was, I don't want to say promoted, but he was put into a significant angle where now he's no longer retarded and he's going to go after Cena. But then what happens, right? He goes there, he cuts his hair, which people pretended was a big deal, even though he was clearly balding. Oh, Hater, you don't understand how black people's hair works. Yes, I do. It works exactly the same way as everyone's hair works. You get older and you start balding. Simple as that. R-Truth has been hiding it for years with innovative haircuts, but for the last 2 years, it's his hairline is up the top of his head. So he's obviously balding. So this is an attempt to stop that from being an issue. And he has, good for him. But don't make it seem as if it's this thing, right? Same thing happened to Baron Corbin. People were like, I can't believe Baron Corbin cut his hair for the WWE. I can. He was going bald anyway, so why the fuck not? And he had long ass hair, So anyways, that's not here nor there. The point is, he cuts his hair and tries, against the powers that be, to rebrand himself as Ron Killings. But this is not something that is being respected by the WWE. They give him a match against Cena, which is a stupid match. It's basically a Karrion Kross match in the sense that absolutely nobody could care about any of this, right? But it nevertheless is there. It's like a Saturday night main event, which at this point, it's basically a pay-per-view type match, right? And with all that being said, we've got R-Truth and Cena out there doing their thing, right? But what comes of it? You know what I mean? What comes of R-Truth and Cena doing their thing? Absolutely nothing. R-Truth basically comes in there. He gets jobbed out like immediately up in this bitch. And that's the end of that. You know? He gets jobbed out completely. Cena just low blows him and just beats his ass. And that's it. Nobody cares anymore. Like, the segment wasn't even about that. It was about setting up Cena for the future. But here we are. You know, with all that being said, I think we find ourselves in a pretty shitty situation, you know? And when I say we find ourselves, I mean more like R-Truth finds himself, right? He thought this was going to be the beginning of something, but it wasn't, right? And not only that, it's been completely disrespectful. He then comes out on Friday or Monday, I don't know, in one of the shows, either SmackDown or Raw. He comes out and he talks to both general managers who are there for the same time for some reason. And he says to them, he's like, yo, I want Cena. And they're like, oh, do you? Well, guess what, kid? Nobody gives a fuck what you want. Cena's not here for you. He's here for CM Punk. I don't know why. Cena should have more beef with R-Truth, who has been attacking him, than he does with CM Punk. But anyways, that's how that went down, right? Cena says to him, like, you know, I don't give a fuck, basically, that R-Truth, like, the whole thing is like an experiment gone wrong. Cena was 100% right. Cena goes out to the ring, deals with CM Punk, and, you know, does like a good promo again. Meanwhile, R-Truth comes to the ring and just gets his ass beat again recently by Aleister Black, right? He's taken L after L after L since re-debuting as Ron Killings, which I think that's probably the biggest L. Like, he's like, I'm Ron Killings. R-Truth is gone. And then he comes out and Michael Cole's like, there goes R-Truth. You know? Like, nobody respects this guy at all. Like, in kayfabe or in non-kayfabe. They don't respect him, motherfucks. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. People are like, wow, he's got so much respect. Nobody cares if your peers respect you in a fake sport. This is not a real sport, right? It is not a real form of, like, entertainment that is, you know, objectively skill-based, right? So, for example, a lot of comics, you know, they say things like, well, I only care what other comics think, right? Because they understand humor. Bullshit. No, you don't. You also care what real comedy fans think, and you even care about what the mainstream thinks. But most importantly, motherfucks, you sure as shit, I can tell you this, you sure as shit care, like, what the ticket holders and the people that are going to buy your shit think. You know? Simple as that. But even in comedy, you can make an argument. You can be like, all right, like, you know, if a comedian thinks you're funny, you're probably funny, right? But in wrestling, you can't make that same argument. If a wrestler thinks you're good, then you're good. No, that doesn't follow at all. It's a fake sport. Everything is like low-level entertainment that is subjective. Like, I like R-Truth, for example, right? But I recognize that the powers that be, maybe Triple H, maybe Lee Fitting, who the fuck knows, right? Maybe Tony Khan, they clearly don't respect him. And it's at a point now where it's like blatant disrespect. Like, the next worst thing would be him just coming out and losing to everybody, which is definitely going to happen in the next few weeks to months. You know? That's where he finds himself now, Cucks. So in my personal opinion, I think it's fair to say that R-Truth should have just gotten released up in this bitch. You know? If he had gotten released, he would at least have some dignity. You know? Like, R-Truth could get signed by Tony Khan. Earlier I met the other Khan, Nick Khan. You know, WB. He could get signed by Tony Khan in AEW up in this bitch, right? And he could debut. He could be like the antagonistic force to Bobby Lashley or something, right? Or he can join Bobby Lashley, right? And he can just be like the unhinged R-Truth Ron Killings that we want, you know? And actually, he might get some respect. Now he comes out there, like, mark my words, by SummerSlam, this motherfucker will be eating a Checkers cheeseburger and selling you the new WWE in-ring action set. He's a fucking jobber. And I'm not saying this is an insult. I love R-Truth. R-Truth is like the last of a dying breed. You know, he debuted in the 90s, motherfuckers. He's my kind of guy. He debuted before many of you were born, cucks. But it doesn't change the facts. And the facts are that at a certain point, you just humiliate yourself by doing the same exact thing. It's better to just let it go, man. Let it go. Go to Tony Khan. Right? It's better to just take the L. He's not getting a push, and even if he does, it's obviously not going to be the push that we thought it was going to be. Wow, we might beat Aleister Black, who has been around wrestling in the mainstream for like 10 years and has literally accomplished zero. He has literally done nothing. Aleister Black has not had one moment in AEW or WWE. He's just another guy. He has the same value as Tozawa. I don't care if he wins more. He has the same value. With all that being said, cuts this. The hater is going to have to bounce here. Get ready for that wedding that I'm going to. But don't trip. The reality is that R-Truth should be released, right? And at this point, I think it's fair to say that he should be released for his own fucking good. Motherfucks.